Hey, what's up, guys? Ryan here with Worship Artistry, and I wanted to shoot a little video for all of you production guys out there. Now, I know that we don't deal a whole lot with production on Worship Artistry. That'll be something that we add later in the future. And as you know, we mostly deal with the music side of things. But I'm a worship leader. I've been heavily involved in production for years. And I've kind of ranged from audio, lighting, video. I've kind of had my hands in it all. And for all of you guys out there that deal with lighting or are wanting to deal with lighting, I wanted to show you something that we're looking into here at the church that I'm at. I'm at a church that's we're running about 400. We actually have a much larger facility because this used to be a very large church, and then it went through some stuff and then it restarted. And so kind of as you can see behind me, we've got a big auditorium here. It seats, we can get about 1,500 seats in this space, and then you can see our stage here. It's just big open stage, drum cage over there, baptistry over there. And then that's just kind of a wing over there. But anyways, when I got here, they didn't have anything by way of color on the stage. And as you can see, it's just this big black backdrop, which is nice because it gives you a lot of flexibility in what you can put up on the stage. You can make things disappear. When you want color, you can make that pop. And so basically Easter of last year, we came up with this design here just using Coroplast, and we could have done a variety of different things, but we were looking for something that was relatively inexpensive and that would give us a background that we could change color on. And so we kind of came up with this design. Here we went through a variety of different designs. We did squares, we did triangles, we did circles, we did all sorts of things, just trying to figure out what would look best up here. And so we decided to do kind of the rectangles here. And so we put those up, and that's just that thin Coroplast. I think I ordered it from I think the cheapest that I found was from Home Depot, actually. They shipped them in cartons of 10 4x8 sheets. And so then we just went through and cut them up. And then we adhered it to the wall using Command Velcro strips. And on each one of those, especially the big ones, I want to say there's probably 6 on each one, and on the smaller ones, it's just 4. The other reason why we went with putting something on the wall was because, as you can kind of, I don't know if you can see up by the cross up there, there's kind of some differences in the paint. And in the past, when the wall was touched up, it wasn't touched up with the same kind of paint. And so it just, when you put light on it, it really sticks out. So there's a lot of that on that wall, and we needed to cover it up. So we put that Coroplast. And the one thing that they did have, they had these really cheap, cheaply made Chinese LED like cans. And they had them up in their youth room, and they weren't really using them. And as you can see here, this is kind of what they look like. They are a 7 by 10 watt LED light. And so as you can see, there's 7 LEDs, they're 10 watts. And they put off a good amount of light, and so I found those. They had 8 of those upstairs. They weren't using them. I pulled them downstairs, and I actually put those up. I don't know if you can see them because of the light, but we've got 8 of them hanging up top. And so we bought. We've got 15 of them down here on the ground to light this back wall here. And on Amazon, I want to say they were under $40. Each, which is, in the world of intelligent lighting, is cheap. And so let me just preface this by saying, in the world of Intel lighting, and especially production in general, going the cheap route is usually not the best thing to do. In this world of production, you really get what you pay for. But technology has kind of come a long ways, and you're able to get some of these lesser expensive options. And kind of the thought behind this was, if one of these LEDs, dies on us, it's only $40. We'll just spend $40 and get another one. Versus, spending $200, $300, $500 on a high quality par can. Now, let me just say that those higher quality ones are going to be better builds. They're going to last a long time. They're going to have great customer service. If you went with somebody like high-end Martin, any of those kind of guys, there's a lot of options out there. And so, but we just don't have that kind of budget. With 400 people, we just don't have the money to spend on something like that. But we wanted to make some upgrades. So that was the first thing that we did. And I'll actually turn this, I'll show you in a second the software that I'm using here. But just with the those LEDs, you can see that, we're able to create some color on the back wall. And it's going to look a little different on camera here. You're going to see kind of like hot spots kind of right in that area there. It's not that hot with the naked eye. But you can see that you can just instantly get some color. As you can see, we've kind of got some lights kind of right in there, for kind of band backlight. And then we've also got some LED strips around our band cage here, or drum cage. This was a home build here. Very relatively inexpensive compared to, the big solutions out there like Whiteley Solutions. Has got, the awesome Phoenix systems, but they're just expensive. They're worth it if you can afford it, but they're expensive. So we built that. I'll do a different video on that later. But just wanted to show you kind of what we did with our LED lights. And we put color on the back wall, and we can change that to kind of anything that we want. If we, I think I've got one here, it changes color. It's a cyan, magenta kind of color. One that's all blue. And so that's the nice thing about having these LEDs, is that instantly you can get color. These LEDs are RGBW. That means that there's a dedicated white light in them, which is nice. I would recommend doing that if you can get one that's RGBWA. That means that it's got amber in it. The amber is a nice touch. The thing about the white light is that it's a real stark white. It's not warm, and so if you're going to use it as front light or anything like that, you're going to have to warm it up with some reds, some yellows kind of thing to do that. Anyways, that is what we did last year. And so the reason why I was making this video is to show you just how you can get some inexpensive options out there. Now, our console that we use is ancient. When they installed it, it actually was not, it was, in my opinion, it was subpar for what could have been installed, but like, many installs, audio, video, and lighting are kind of left to the back burner in many church scenarios. And so they put a big console that has lots of faders on it, and so you can take control of any light that you want to, and it's mainly good for just creating looks and leaving it and setting it. It's not good for doing intelligent lighting where you have to use DMX addressing and movers, that sort of thing. So we've made it work with the LEDs, but it's a pain. So what we're getting ready to do is we're going to shift over to a more software-based deal. And there's great software out there. The one that we're going to end up going with that has been recommended by several lighting design friends of mine is Vista by Jans. I think it's called ChromaQ now. But it's a great piece of software. Unfortunately, for what we need, it'll probably cost about $1,500 to get the software and the capability to run the amount of DMX addresses that we need. So instead of pulling the trigger on that right now, we're going to go with a free piece of software, and it's called QLC. This is running on my Mac. It's a free control software. At first I was real skeptical about it because I've used Vista, and I like the way that it works. But this will do. You kind of have to get in the mindset for it. I'm not going to go into a whole lot about this, but I was able to put in all of our fixtures. Basically, it operates off of scenes. You create scenes. You can create different looks. You can create movement scenes. You can combine all of those into basically like a cue list. So if you wanted one song, if you want it to be real simple, you can just have a look per song and just change per song. It's just static, no movement. If you want movement where the lights subtly change at different parts in the chorus, color changes, you can create a cue list for each song. Basically, those are called collections. And then you can run it live. And so basically what we're going to do, we've got a touch screen that we'll hook up to our computer back there. And this isn't finished, but you create a virtual console that you can run. And so that's basically what I'm doing right now. So like I can black it out and it's all blacked out, or I can bring it back and it's back in. And so like for instance, this would be kind of an idea for a song. You know, here's maybe the intro, and then you fire and you go, here's another part of the song, colors changed, and like the drums went out. You know, I can go back to a different part of the song. Colors changed, drums came back in, band came back on. And so this will all be on a 22-inch touch screen. So you'll actually be able to touch these things and make them go. So like you got faders here that you'll actually be able to slide. If you want things set to tempo, you can make them go to tempo. I mentioned movement. So as you can see, you know, the lights are basically kind of changing or pulsing to time. You can change all that using the tap tempo, and so yeah, that's basically what this software gives you flexibility. If you're used to a more conventional console, it has a thing called Simple Desk, and as you can see, they're all laid out in just faders, and you can do that for conventionals. You can also jump over, I think, yeah, as you can see, it starts getting into your intels, so it'll do it with faders as well. So that's QLC. So that's what I'm using right now to run our lights, and that's what we'll end up using just temporarily until we get the money for Vista. So that's what we chose to do last year. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna as you can see here on the cross, we've got some LED tape up there kind of backlighting the cross. We've got the LED tape around the drums here, which was a nice touch. That LED tape is, you know, fairly inexpensive. You can get it on Amazon for, I think, around $13 per strip. I think they come in, they're about 16-foot strips. If you do buy them and you want to be able to control them, don't buy it where it has the controller already built into it and the remote. That's just a waste of money. You can actually buy the tape by itself, and then you'll purchase a separate DMX decoder box that allows you to take XLR 3-pin in DMX into it, in and out, and you kind of have to be a little bit of a handyman because you got to wire that into the LED. But that's what allows us to come over there and change the color, like on that the drum cage over there. Let me see if I can get it right here. So like, so right now, if I can get it, here we go. Well, it's not wanting to. There it goes. So you can go to cyan. We can come over here to green. Well, it's supposed to be green. It's mixing with the color that I've already got right now. So, but anyways, you get the idea. By using that decoder, you can wire that into your system. So what we're going to do with that, if you check, you have to kind of look at it. But on that tape, there's all sorts of tape there, DMX or LED tape on Amazon. You can get RGB, RGBW, there's some RGBWA tape as well. There's actually some blacklight tape there. You can get it where most of it's going to come, it's going to be white with a white backing, but you can get it with black. You can also get it where they're double LEDs, and that really opens up the brightness. I know a few churches that have used that double tape, and it looks really good. And it's not actually double the price. It can be very close to the single. And so we're actually going to take some of that tape, and I'll show you once we're done with it, and we're going to intersperse it in those black spots that you see. So what you're seeing here is reflective light, and we're going to intersperse that LED tape to give direct light for certain things. So that's for the LED tape. Now, back to it's 15 minutes into this, and I'm finally getting to the main thing that I want to talk about. I wanted to be able, one of our issues here is we're kind of limited on the amount of front light that we can do. And as you can see here, it's very tall. I think it's like 30 feet or more from the floor to our main, our first pipe up there for the front light. And so we have to get a big lift in here and go up there and change the lamps out. And, you know, conventional lamps, they will go out periodically. So to give us some flexibility, we're going to add some intelligent moving head fixtures. And moving heads is what you see right here, and I've got 3 of them. You can see this little guy right here, and then here's like Mama Bear, and then Papa Bear. And in this world of moving heads, you know, I've never been a huge fan of buying cheap. I've been okay with buying, you know, pre-owned, used. You can go to sites like GearSource and Solaris Network. Those are 2 great sites as far as buying pre-owned stuff that has come off of, you know, road shows, tours, concert venues, that sort of thing. And you can get quality stuff at a lesser price, but it is going to be used. We just didn't have the money even for that. And so looking, I was thinking with these LEDs, those LEDs were $40, and they've lasted for a few years now. And I thought, well, maybe, I wonder if they make a moving head, and they actually do. They make this little guy right here. This is a 4x12 moving head fixture, and so it's 48 watts on the output, and it's about $70 on Amazon. And so I ordered that, and for whatever reason I thought it was going to be a little bit bigger than it actually is. I mean, you can see how small this thing is. I can fit it in my hand here. So it just didn't have the light output, because we're going to have to hang it from that pipe up there and be able to shine and start filling in this open space up here up front. And that wasn't going to be near bright enough. So I checked to see, actually that one right there is not made by that same company. That's MFL. M is in man, F Foxtrot, L Lima. MFL, those are the ones that we have. They're about $40 or less. They make a moving head version. As you can see, it's a little tighter pattern, but it's still 7x10. And it's a full moving head. It's RGBW, same thing with this little guy, RGBW. And so this little guy is 48 watts, that's 70 watts. And I thought, well, I'll try both of those and see what the output's like. The next step up from that, you're gonna move up to, instead of like a 7x12, I've seen some where they have 12x12s, but really the next step is going to be this guy here, and this big guy is a 36x10. So 36x10, 360 watts output. So obviously this is going to be significantly brighter than these 2 little guys, and I'll show that to you in just a second. Overall, you know, I think they're fine little fixtures for the money. These 2 right here, both of them were $70. This one This specific one was $250, and it's very much more well made. As you can see, the cabling on it, the power cable, it's got an on-off switch. It's much more rugged and heavier than these guys. Those, your power just plugs straight in. Like your normal computer cable, these are these twist locks, like you have on your speakers at your church. And so this bigger one was just a much better build. It's still lighter weight than more professional ones that I've used. So, but I've tried all of them out and just trying to decide, okay, which one do we need to go with in order to get some front light. And I'll show you each one of these. Come to my console here. So I'll kill that. And we'll start with the little guy. Here's the little guy. And you can see how bright he is. I can come back. Let's see, that's this guy. Yep. Let's see, can I take, and I can take control over him and move him down. I can move him over. You know, you can see, like looking over here, I mean, you can see kind of a vague red hue there. Move it back to the center there, and you can see how that works. So that is the little. I think that's MFL. The next one is made by a company called Lixada, which actually makes the DMX decoders for the light strips in our drum cage. So for that one, we'll turn off that little guy, turn on the next one. You can see there's a significant difference in the light output. Here's the little guy, and you can kind of compare. It's much brighter. And you can do the same thing with it. You can take control over it and move it all around. You can see if I come down over there in that corner. Let's see if I can get it there. It's a little bit brighter as far as the red, and I'm using red because that's not going to be your darkest color. Obviously, you get blues, purples; those get really dark. But it kind of shows you what it'll look like at a distance. So kind of bring that back there. And then finally, the big one. So again, we got the small, the medium, and now the big guy. And you can see how wide that color actually is. And the nice thing about this fixture is that it has a zoom on it. And what I mean by that is if I select it, I can take it and adjust the pattern, and I can tighten it up. So you can see it gets real tight right there. And it's kind of blowing it out because of the camera. So it's not that pronounced. It's still a good red color, but as you can see, I can start to pull it out, and the red starts covering more the screen, or the backdrop rather. So this has a very wide throw on it, which is nice, and much brighter. If I come back and I turn on the Lixada there, you can see that Lixada's got a bright light to it. If I take the big guy, this is called a Boldler Pro is the one that I chose to get. And let me just kind of move it over here. Let's see, right there. You can kind of see that it's definitely brighter than the middle one, the Lixada. Let me turn it off. You can kind of see there. And in fact, if I take the boulder and let's put it over on top, come back. I'm gonna turn off both of them. So here's the Lixada, then turn on the Boulder. You can see how much brighter it is. Obviously they're combining a little bit, but you can see just how much brighter that big guy is. So, those are the 3 LED moving heads that I've auditioned here. We've got this little guy, it's an MFL mini moving head, 48 watts. The next one's a Lixada, it's 70 watts. And then the last guy here is a Boldler Pro. It's a 360 watts. It's a 36 by 10. And it does have a zoom, which is great because it's a wash, but if you want to tighten it up and it actually be like a spot, you can do that. And using the RGB W features, you can warm the light up and use it as a front light, which is kind of our plan right now. Is we'll take that and we'll actually probably start off with 4 of them. 6 would probably be good, but $250 a pop. It's a little pricey. They do have some others. What you'll find is that all 3 of these, you'll see like the same identical fixture just by a different manufacturer. And they're probably all made in the same plant in China somewhere, and they're just a different, manufacturer is slapped on them. I think I saw this Boldler. I think I could have gotten it for $200, but I wanted to go ahead and get it here and try it out first to see if this is the one that I wanted to use. So you can probably get it for about $200, but you'll have to wait. It didn't have prime on it, so it'd probably take a week or maybe even 2 weeks for it to come in. But that's kind of my first impression. So again, in the world of intelligent lighting, I've never wanted to go cheap, but so far these lights are working. And once you're stepping up into this range of $200 or $300, yeah, if it craps out on you, you might have some issues with customer service. I mean, when you look at you can tell that the customer service is probably going to be non-existent on this kind of stuff, because the warranty card, you can't hardly read it. The instructions, the grammar is horrible all over it. But at least you haven't spent $1,000 on a single fixture, or $2,000 or $3,000 on a single fixture. We had I was at a church one time where we had about 2 dozen intelligent fixtures. They were made by high quality manufacturers. I think we had some Martins, we had some high-end fixtures, but they were bought pre-owned. And man, we went through lamp after lamp after lamp. We were having issues with the motherboards, and because of the motherboard issue, it would fry the lamp. And so we were constantly, it was a big source of frustration. And so, I mean, unless you're buying brand new name brand and, getting a warranty with it, you're going to run into issues at some point in time. And so our thought was, well, $250 is easier to replace than $2,500. So anyways, that's kind of what we're looking at doing. We're going to add some more of these. There's a variety of, you can do these LED washes. They've got some that are called Sharpies that are basically just like real long, slender beams, laser-like looking things to add, just different texture to your stage. The one thing, once we step into that, we're not using haze in this, in this worship center right now, mainly because we're not using gobos or anything like that, but we're getting close to the time where we're going to need to do that. So, we'll be looking for a hazer for that, and you definitely want to get a good quality hazer so that it doesn't feel like you're in a bar breathing in smoke kind of thing. So, but anyways, that's kind of it. Again, if you got any questions, you can send me an email, ryan@worshipartistry.com. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you think, if you're using any of this, if you got any other recommendations. I mean, I'm glad to hear if you got any other recommendations besides what we've got here that would be useful. Would love to hear it. So, all right, well, you guys have a good day. Bye.